Hi, and welcome back to my channel. And today I am drinking my coffee. It's Sunday morning, and I'm getting ready to make a Russian or Ukrainian fish soup that we make with potatoes and some other vegetables and flavorings. This is a pretty simple recipe. I call this a 3-ingredient recipe. It's fish, it's potatoes, and it's some lemon juice. So I'm speeding up the peeling of the potatoes. I actually started the recipe by showing you all the ingredients first, but my footage was not saved on my phone. I thought I hit record, but I guess I didn't. So I'm just starting right here with peeling 3 large potatoes. I like to use red potatoes in any kind of soup because of their starch amount. The red potatoes have less starch, so therefore they're not going to kind of melt into the water as they boil. They will hold their shape a little bit better. The red potatoes are also good for this reason to use in a potato salad, this style, because they just don't get as mushy. And after you boil them, they're easy to peel as well without breaking up, versus something like a russet potato. Russet potato will break up, as you know, and that's why it's used for baked potato, because then the center is really soft and really crumbly. But for a soup, you want a potato that will hold together. You can even use baby potatoes and even leave the skin on. I'm using my Cuisinart chef's knife. This is a smaller one than the one I normally use, and it's about that time of the year for me to sharpen my knives. But I do want to get that size, but maybe possibly a different handle, a little bit better quality. So if you guys know any brands or style of knife that is an absolute must, please share with me in the comments. Now I'm just chopping up I'm basically quartering the potatoes, adding it into cold water, and I usually also keep some ice cubes in there as well. I wipe down my cutting board usually with a clean rag, because you don't want your food to slip as you're cutting it, and especially if you have a wet vegetable like this, it's not totally dry, that can easily happen. I go through a lot of these little fiber cloths per meal, but I usually just put them right in the wash or in my hamper after I finish every meal. So I don't really use the same towel the whole day, just with every meal I prep. So I go through a lot of these, and they're pretty affordable on Amazon and whatnot. So here I have pre-shredded carrots. You want carrots to be thin in the soup because it's a very gentle soup. You don't want to bite into a big chunk. Potatoes can be a little bit bigger, but the carrots in this recipe should be kind of sliced thinly. I also have minced garlic that I have in a jar, just because I just did not have time to unfreeze a puck out of my freezer, and I didn't want to mince a fresh one. In a soup, it doesn't really matter if you use fresh or not. It's very hard to tell. Chicken broth is what I'm using as my base. Of course, if you had fish stock on hand and homemade or store-bought, then use that. I just have chicken stock. Beef stock would also work, and so would vegetable stock. I'm peeling half of an onion to go in here. And what I like to do, and this goes for any soup I make, I saute the onion and the carrots together. And if celery's in the recipe, I saute that as well. It enhances the flavor because it kind of browns and caramelizes and gets all the bitter juices out of the onion. So I always recommend doing that. That will add depth of flavor to your soup. So don't skip that step. But if you did, you're just going to have a more mild flavored soup. So I am mincing this. And just a quick side note, this soup is actually a soup, or at least this is what I was told by my grandmother, is that it was originally created by fishermen who, worked the coastlines of Russia and, basically lived off of the seafood that they caught. And so it was very important for them to be able to prepare a quick meal with very few ingredients, especially in the cold winters. So there you go. This is why it's mainly just broth. It's onions, potatoes, and any kind of fish. I've seen it done with white fish and red fish like salmon, or only white fish. So it's up to you. Cod would work well in this recipe. Any kind of white fish, flounder, mahi. You could also add crab. You could add shrimp. You could add clams. Whatever seafood you like, you can really put in the soup, and it will go well with all the other ingredients, with the onion, the carrots, the parsley. and the really strong flavored broth. And it's also flavored with lemon juice, giving it a tangy flavor. So I will let you know this is a tangy soup, and it's I think it complements the fish in the soup very well. And salmon is normally cooked with lemon juice. That is kind of the classic way to cook it, and some dill. So that is why to this soup I'm also adding parsley and dill. And this is my traditional recipe, so I'm using salmon today. But as I said, feel free to get creative and add other ingredients that you like as far as seafood. So I'm also going to add in green onion into the soup. So I'm going to let it cook. So that's an extra onion flavor that's going to go into the soup. You could also just garnish with it. So that's kind of up to you. But I like to put the herbs into the soup in this instance. So I'm actually using almost 3 pounds of salmon. I'm not going to use all of it in the soup. So about 1.5 pounds will go into the soup. 1.5 I will just prep and top with butter and lemon to have it ready to go for another meal on a different day. Something else I like to do is I like to save the ends of my green onions. You just put them in a little bit of water, and after a week or two, they start sprouting and regrowing. So there you go. You'll have an easy, quick green onion on your windowsill that way. Dill also goes well with any kind of fish, and it's also a traditional ingredient in most Russian soups, so I don't leave it out. I always include dill, and if you didn't have any fresh dill, then use either frozen or dried dill. It definitely enhances the flavor. I'm also going to go ahead and prep my lemon and cut it in half. Some will go into the soup, and some will go on top of the salmon that I'm saving for another meal. The salmon I'm using is fresh Atlantic salmon that I got at Walmart. This is almost 3 pounds, and I did not look carefully enough to see if it was skinless, and it is not skinless. So I regret that. Next time I will definitely buy it already with the skin peeled, because it created kind of a mess. And later I found a hack online that said you can just pour boiling water on the skin side and then it'll peel off a lot quicker, but I decided to do it with a knife. I thought it would peel off a lot easier, and it didn't. So but you will see me trying to kind of cut it as best as I can without cutting myself and without ruining the fish. So but if you cut not low enough, you can still take whatever's left, the skin and a little bit of any meat on it, and then make fish stock out of it. So that's probably what I'm going to do, just to not waste the fish that I didn't completely de-skin. So here, I first tried to peel it just with my fingers, but it was kind of really hard to pull it apart, and the fish is oily, so it's really slippery. So I decided to go grab a paper towel, and I was hoping it would help me with the grip. It was just kind of a struggle. So note to self, next time I'm going to get skinless salmon fillets. And also, as I'm slicing this, I'm noticing that some of the scales off the skin are also kind of getting into the salmon meat. So just if you do this at home and you're going to cut off the skin yourself, then just make sure to rinse it really well so that you're not eating the scales and that they don't go into your soup as well. I sped this up. Basically, I took the skin off of the remaining fillets, and then I rinsed everything well, and now I'm topping it a little bit dry with the paper towel. And now the actual fillets I'm going to cut up into about 1-inch cubes. Okay, now I'm adding salt and pepper. I season every layer of the soup, so I'm also going to season the onions and carrots separately when I'm sauteing them. That also ensures that every layer of the food that you're adding and mixing it together in the end is flavored well throughout the whole process. So the other half of the salmon package, I left the skin on it, and so that gave me 3 whole fillets. I'm going to season these as well, and my plan for these is to wrap them tightly in plastic wrap, just in this casserole dish as it is, and then cover again with aluminum foil just to seal it well, and then in that kind of packaging, it can be frozen, and then it should stay good in your freezer for another month or 2. And this way I already have a quick protein ready to go, and it goes right into the oven frozen until it gets crispy and flaky. So What I'm topping it off with is dill. I like to put a whole strip of dill because some people don't like it, and that makes it easier to take it off instead of me finally chopping it. I'm squeezing some lemon juice on it, and again, I'm going to freeze it just like this with all the flavorings in it already, and it will sort of marinate by sitting in some of these juices and the salt and everything. So that's, again, extra flavor that goes into your fish. And then I'm going to slice up some lemons, fresh lemons. And if you don't have any fresh, then you could use lemon juice. And then I'm also going to dab about a teaspoon, 2 teaspoons of butter on each of my fillets. And that also gets, just adds not just flavor, but just makes the fish more moist as it cooks. And I do cook it uncovered, so about 375 for 20 minutes. If it's frozen, it might take a little longer, 25 minutes. As always, use a food thermometer to make sure your food is at the right temperature. And just like that, a second meal is ready. So here I am sauteing my vegetables, and again, I'm slowing this down because I also thought I recorded the part where I was adding things to the broth, and that footage is also lost. I think I either accidentally deleted it or I didn't press record, so it wasn't recording the whole time I was talking. So here's a quick recap of what I said. To my broth, what I usually always add is, and this is to every soup I make, just think of these 4 ingredients, and it's always 1 tablespoon of 3 of them. So it'll be 1 tablespoon of tomato paste, 1 tablespoon of sugar, 1 tablespoon of vinegar, and then just a couple of dashes, 3, 4, 5 dashes of Worcestershire sauce. If you don't have that, use soy sauce or another like dark, salty kind of sauce. This adds depth of flavor. The sugar cuts through some of the acidity that we're going to be adding with the lemon juice and the vinegar. And then Worcestershire sauce gives it kind of that umami and depth of flavor. And tomato paste also kind of sweetens it up and also builds flavor. So most soups, especially Russian soup, do have a tomato element, whether it's pureed tomatoes, whole tomatoes, fresh tomatoes, or tomato paste. Tomato paste for me has always been very convenient because it just comes out in a tube. So here's a recap of what I did. I brought the broth to a boil. And once it was at a boil, I lowered it to a simmer and let it simmer for about 20-25 minutes until the potatoes are soft to the touch over the fork. So this is what the soup looks like. It was very refreshing, light. The salmon was just right in it. The potatoes were nice and soft, and it has a very nice tangy flavor. And what better way to enjoy a meal than with a hot bowl of soup in these cold winter months. So I hope you all try it. This soup is called uha. I don't think I mentioned that. UHA. And it's a quick, easy soup to make. But I would recommend buying fish that's already pre-filleted for you, without bones and without skin. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.